Can you guys hear me? I don't think the chat is coming up. Hello, Saluk. Hello, Keep Smiling. Hello, Mohammed. Hi, Abhishek. How are you guys tonight? New Year's Eve tomorrow. Okay, so the chat's coming up. That's always great news. All right, fellas. So what I want to do today, how many of us are here right now? So we are about 11 people here. And what I want to do for tonight is go super extremely practical. I know that there aren't too many people doing this live on YouTube, except maybe Nahamsek, which I really appreciate, and I've learned a lot from his work. Hello, Greaser. Hi from Portugal. Well, hello from Romania. So what I want to do tonight is I'm not sure how many of you are interested in bug bounties, but what I want to do is to actually give you a little bit of insight in my methodology, and we're going to do some practical real life scenario or exercise in which I'm going to combine Python. I'm going to combine the knowledge of Python with bug bounties. And if we have time, I'm planning to stay here for about an hour. If we have time, I want to actually do some Python challenges, and who knows, maybe I'll be doing a little bit of, or maybe I'll start a challenge on Attack Defense Labs. So yeah, that's kind of the plan for tonight. I should probably start off with telling you guys that I'm not sure if I said this in the previous live stream. Let me know, guys, if you can hear me well. Comment in the chat if you can, guys, hear me clearly, and if the stream is coming up like with no lag. So if the stream quality is good, because I wanna make sure that I have the best quality experience, because that's something that I'm actually looking for when I do or when I watch other people's live streams. Okay, now with that said, I'm not sure that I specified this in the previous live stream, but what I want to say is that YouTube actually enabled memberships for my channel. Let me actually share my screen here. Okay, so I should probably start the performance mode here. Or not, or yes. So YouTube actually enabled memberships for my channel. So as you can see, you have the join button here. And when you click this join button, there are actually 3 tiers that you can join my channel. So 3 membership tiers. So the first tier is about $2, $1.99, and for this tier, I guess you get discounts for all my courses, my books, and whatever stuff that I'm having out there and that I'm also gonna have out there. For the loyal tier, you get everything from the fan tier, and you also have access to members only live chat, and this is something that I'm gonna be doing quite often. So I'm gonna be doing live chats with the members, with only the members from Loyal Plus and Die Hard, and this is about, I believe it's $4.99. Okay, and finally the Die Hard tier is like $10 or something like that, and this is you get access to all the perks from the previous 2 tiers, and you also get to connect with me on a private basis and actually get to ask me questions privately. Yeah, so that's all about it. And I think that they've also in this case of having the memberships enabled, I think they've also they've also enabled the merchandise for my channel, which should appear somewhere in this section. Let me see if I click another video. I should have the merchandise up and running somewhere or not. Anyways, that doesn't matter. I just wanted to let you know that memberships are live, and I'm really looking forward to connect with you on an individual basis. Okay, so Charizard asked, how many hours should I spend on a target? I'm actually, so guys, keep asking your questions over here. I'm actually gonna try to answer all of them by the end of the stream. Okay, so once again, like I said, I want us to get super practical here. Right? So I see that we are currently 17 people. Okay, so I want to get super practical. Let's actually say, for example, that we are doing recon. So the first thing that I usually do when I look into a bug bounty target is spend a lot of time. I mean, I do actually spend a lot of time on recon, and this is because Nahamsek inspired me to do so. So spending a lot of time on recon, I've actually developed my own methodology, and I've actually started developing my own tools since I know Python to a certain extent. I don't brag off of it because I'm not a Python expert. I just kind of know a few, I know how to, I don't know, put a few things together in Python, and I'm also trying my best in Bash. So I've actually developed since I started doing bug bounties a couple of months ago. I haven't so far, so to give you an update, I haven't actually been paid for any bounties so far. I did discover stuff, but I haven't been paid anything. So yeah, if this is a motivation to you, by all means, take it as a motivation. I'm gonna keep on doing bug bounties, and I'm gonna keep on doing my best, keep on developing my own methodology. And I encourage any of you who actually go into bug bounties to actually try to develop your own methodology, because nobody is going to reveal their methodology, their private methodology out there. Nobody. Whoever tells you that they do that, they're actually not telling you the real thing. But there are good people that are actually sharing pieces of methodology, and I'm going to try to do as much of that as I can. So, what was I saying? Yeah, I've developed my own methodology, and I've actually developed a few tools that help me automate part of the process, help me ease things up to spend a little less time on the minute tasks and to actually spend more time doing manual testing. So get through a lot of the recon like quite fast, discover as many assets as possible, and trying to get a large vector of attack. And once I have that, I'm going manually through all the stuff, through the goodies, through JS files, through input, trying to discover not necessarily discover, but actually manually verify different stuff with Burp Suite. So anyways, let's actually take a public list. Let's actually, just a second here. Hello, maestro. Okay. What was I? Where was I? Over here. So let's actually take a public list of subdomains for a large company. For example, Nahamsek is saying that Yahoo doesn't mind if we look into their domains, into their subdomains. I mean, anyone can look through that, and if we're not going deep enough to actually discover something within this live stream, I think we're good to go. So what I want to say is that whatever you do, make sure. So in any bug bounties, I have to stress this like hundreds of times. Whatever type of penetration testing or bug bounty you're doing, make sure you are in the scope. So if you're using Backcrowd or HackerOne or any other platforms for bounties, make sure that you clearly understand the scope of the program, because you don't want to be testing on something you're not allowed to, or you don't want to spend like 10 hours on some asset that's not covered in the scope, because if you would find something and that's actually not applicable or not validated, you're going to be super frustrated because you've lost time. So read the freaking scope, and if you're doing penetration testing, please make sure to actually do it with permission. Now that said, let's actually search for Yahoo subdomains list, and I know there's something on GitHub, and I've actually visited this one a couple of hours earlier in sort of like a recon for this video. How's the stream coming up, guys? Okay, so we have a bunch of lists here. Let's actually take whatever one. Let's take the, I don't know, this one, yahoo.com. There's, wow, I didn't even look into this. So there's 3,600, almost 3,700 subdomains. Okay, out of these, let's actually grab, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300, copy these, and actually go to Parrot over here. Let's do nano yahoo.txt, Control-Shift-V. So I'm going to copy them. So we have the domains over here, and there are 316. Guys, let me know if this text is like large enough or visible enough for you to actually see it well. Hello, Adrian. What's up with the bet thing? Okay, so I'm in Parrot OS. Can you see it? It's better if it's on this side. Alright, so what I want to do, as we have a list of subdomains over here, make it just a little bit larger. Okay. So in this case, when you get a list of subdomains for your target by using, I don't know, you could use sublister. I think it's with 3R. You could use find domain. There are a lot of tools for subdomain brute forcing. When you get a list with subdomains, or of course you can use cert.sh. You'll have like, I don't know, maybe if the program is really big like Yahoo, you'll get maybe hundreds or even thousands of subdomains. And of course, depending on how you got those domains, the thing is What are you saying, Adrian? We are on a life bug bounty. Well, technically yes, but we're not getting deep enough to actually cause trouble here. So, to get back to the point, depending on the program, you get a list of subdomains. In this case, we just took 300 domains from Yahoo. Not all of these domains are live. Not all of these domains are valid. So, for example, some of them could actually be dead links, and you don't want to spend time trying to go through each of them manually. So what would you do in this case if you kind of want to sort of automate the process and actually get a list with each subdomain and a status code? For example, I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with status codes in HTTP, but for example, 200 is okay. 404 is not found. 303, the ones in 300 are redirects. I think most of them. The 500 ones are server errors. Like 500 is internal server error. Pardon my smartphone here. So instead of actually going through each of them manually and checking, you kind of want to do that in an automated way. There might be tools for that already, but I did something. I've actually put up my yes, of course. So Charizard lead. What about taking screenshots? Well, you can use Aquatone, or I think there's PyWeb screenshot or Web screenshot. I think there are quite other tools. That's also a good idea. But what I want to do is what I wanted to do when I developed, when I created my script, which I'm actually going to link to it in my GitHub, guys, so you can take it if you want. For free, of course. What I actually did is to develop a tool that gives me the URL and the status code. And that's it. I think HTTP probe or not. HTTP probe doesn't do that. HTTP probe only checks whether or not the URL is HTTP or HTTPS. But in this case, we want to see if we want to see what kind of status code we get. Anyways, I'm getting over my head here. So I've wrote this upcheck.py and we're gonna look into it. Welcome, steady guy. Let's look into upcheck.py, which is the tool I wrote for actually giving me. So I give it a list of subdomains and it actually tells me which one is up, and it actually gives me the status code while accessing that domain. So of course I didn't actually invent this, but I took parts of code. So what I took inspiration from Roiven Lerner, so thank you, sir, for that. When it comes to threading, because in Python, if I would have gotten, like for example, we have this list, cat Yahoo. If I would have gotten through each of them Pythonically, 300 addresses would probably take, I don't know, maybe it could even take more than an hour to check them all, like sequentially. But what I wanted to do here is to leverage the threading module and the queue in Python to actually test them all at once, and that probably decreases the time by 100-fold at least. So in this case, maybe 300 subdomains would be checked in 1 or 2 minutes or even less, depending on the parallelization that Python is able to do in this virtual machine. So the part of this script that I've got inspiration for was mostly this part with the threading, joining the threads all together, and actually getting everything from the queue. So it's kind of pretty simple. It took me a couple of hours to put it up. what I'm actually doing here, so for example, here's how the script is working. I have it in my path, so what I only need to do is call it like that, object.py, and also give it the list of subdomains, and that's it. So in Python, object.py, if we're using the sys module, this is the 0th argument. So the name of the script is the 0th argument. Okay, so object.py is the 0th argument, and yahoo.text in this case is the first argument, so, or the second argument number 1, because in Python numbering starts at 0 and argv1 is the second argument, in this case our list. So what did I do here? I actually did a list comprehension in which I say for each line in my file, so it's actually opening yahoo.txt in read mode, and for each line in this file, do this. Add HTTPS. Looking at it right now, it may not be the most optimal way of doing it, because I'm assuming everything is HTTPS, and it might not, but it actually didn't fail me in the past couple of months. So I'm I'm actually adding to each line HTTPS, and that's it. I'm gonna have a list of URLs. In this case, if we look at our cat yahoo.txt, let me just silence my notifications. Okay, so if we have our list, in this case we don't have to add HTTP or HTTPS because it's already added. I mean, it's added, it has HTTP, but let's actually remove this HTTP thing and only get these ones. So how are we gonna do that in bash? We'll simply say cat yahoo.txt, and then we're gonna cut -d, the delimiter is gonna be /. I think it's gonna be field 2. Let's see, field 3. Okay, so it's field 3. So we've actually removed all the lines. All right, and let's actually save it to yahoo subs.txt ls-a. Grab -v wouldn't work because grab is only, so let me show you. We have cat yahoo.txt, and if I say grab -v actually tells bash to actually give us everything that doesn't have this HTTP thing, and all the lines in the yahoo.text have it. So in this case, this line, I'm assuming this line is going to have no output, and it doesn't. Even if I say like you said, it doesn't. If I say grab HTTP, is going to grab them all. Okay, so Charizard, hope that clears things up. So we have the Yahoo subs, which are clean, and in this case let's actually move Yahoo subs into yahoo.txt. So yes, of course I need to be super user, so move Yahoo subs into yahoo.txt. All right, clear, and now one more time. We look into the yahoo.txt and we have all of them nice and clean without any HTTP or anything else. Okay, now these are ready to go into my script here into upcheck.py. And this is going to create, like I said, this list comprehension is going to create a list which with each and every one of them with the HTTP thing. Once that list is created, I'm creating an empty queue and also a list of threads, and then I'm actually defining a function, and this function mind the get length because the name is unrepresentative, so I just choose it randomly. So in this case it's actually gonna do a get request for each URL. So the parameter that's going to be passed is the URL, and the URL is going to be each URL in here. And I've kind of encapsulated everything into try and except so that the code doesn't break before it finishes. And I'm trying to catch 3 exceptions specifically and 1 exception generally. So the rest of any other exceptions are going to be caught under this general umbrella. So I have 3 specific exceptions that through trial and error I've noticed that come up like much more often. Okay, and then for all the URLs in the URL, this is actually how you work with threading. I'm actually creating a thread, and in this case the target function, this target parameter is actually a target function. The target function is get length over here, okay? And the arguments, or the arg, you have to specify the arguments, and after the last argument I think you have to specify a comma, but I'm not really sure. I'm just following practices here. I mean, I've been inspiring. I've got this inspiration from Roiven. So I remember that I've worked with threading for other tools that I've created in the past, and I actually remember that I use this kind of notation. So the target of each of your thread is going to be get length, and the URL is going to be the argument. So what Python is going to do is actually take each and every URL here, and it's going to at the same time or simultaneously is going to start parallel threads with, in this case, the get length function, and the argument is going to be the URL, the specific URL. Okay, and then we're going to join all threads. We're going to have a queue, and once the queue is finished, it's going to print everything nice and neatly in the terminal. Hopefully that's clear enough. So let's actually put this to work and try to see how much time it's going to take until it gets through all of them. So I'm just going to say upcheck.py, and the argument is the list. So it's 10:26:05. Let's see how long it's gonna take until Python actually goes through all of them like in a simultaneous or parallel fashion. We have an error here which has been thrown to us. Attribute error. So I didn't catch this one specifically, and this one has been printed. If we look again into the script, what I want Python for me to show is whatever exception is not in these three exceptions, we'll simply gonna print the exception message. In this case, we have an attribute error, too many redirects, whatever that means. Okay, so let's actually wait for this one to finish. And if I look again, the idea is that the list should not have any empty lines. Okay, so I have an idea why this happened. So when you work with when you work with requests in Python, such as in this case, when you make a GET request, the requests.get method aside of the URL has another default parameter, which is I think it's allow redirect or something like that, which is set to true. And if that happens, so that actually happens by default. If that happens and you have too many redirects, it's gonna try to follow all the redirects. And that's probably why this message was being thrown at us. So if we look, for example, in requests get Python, if we try to look into the official documentation, redirect, where is the official documentation? Let's look at this one. Do we have let me see, redirect. So by default, allow redirects is false. I'm not really sure if that's the thing. So for GET requests, if you're using GET, you can disable redirection. Okay, yeah. So I can disable by specifying this parameter, allow redirects, and set it equal to false. So by default, as I was saying, that is equal to true. So it's gonna follow redirects. So what I could do in this case, I could simply add another except requests exception attribute error as like let's say 5 E's, and in that case I would simply say Q put too many redirects for this URL. So I would simply repeat this line here. I'm gonna put the URL where the redirect happens inside the tuple along with maybe the status code, which is probably 301 or 302 or 300 something. Okay, so it's taking a while for it to finish. When did we start? Like 24, 26, 28, I don't remember. So it's already like 4 or 5 minutes. Imagine what would have happened if all of these like subdomains would have been checked manually or line by line, it would have probably taken, I don't know, maybe more than an hour, probably even more than 2 or 3 hours. So anyways, in the meantime, when I'm doing recon and I'm actually starting these all these scripts or all these automations, in the meantime I'm actually doing something else. So it's not like I'm waiting for this to finish until I'm actually moving to something else. I'm just doing multiple things at a time, and that actually saves me a lot of time. Okay, so we're gonna wait a couple of more minutes. Let's see, how many minutes are we in with this stream? We're almost 40 minutes, and we have like 16 of you guys here. Okay, so in the meantime, I think I could actually answer some of your questions, I guess. Let's see. So, starting with keep smiling. Please give us some info about the real hacking pen testing. What going on there? How do we practice with real scenarios? Wow, man. Please use proper punctuation. I do understand what you're asking here, but please use punctuation to be more understandable and to convey your message better. So you're actually saying, how can you practice with real life scenarios? And for those of you guys that aren't here for the first time, you probably know that I keep saying that I don't hate, but I dislike CTFs. I don't like actually playing CTFs. I've never actually been a fan of CTFs. So, but I did practice using a lot of machines from Volnhub and Hack the Box, and I know that a lot of the machines out there on those platforms and on other platforms are really, really unrealistic. And I tried to stay away from those unrealistic machines. I don't do CTFs like CTF time and all that stuff because I don't find any pleasure in looking for images and for looking for hidden texts in images. And in the real life, in penetration testing and in bug bounty hunting, there's very less likely that you're going to deal with situations like steganography and all that shit. So pardon my informal language. But to get to your question, on Hack the Box, Volnhub, there might be some good machines that you can practice on for real life scenarios. You'll have to find them, you'll have to look for them, because a lot of the machines, I stopped doing Hack the Box like 6 or 7 months ago when I started training for the OSCP. So that's when I actually stopped doing Hack the Box and all that stuff. And I remember that there were machines on Hack the Box where you would actually be confronted with a web application and you'd have to kind of guess, or you would have a login panel where the password is admin. Well, that is unrealistic. The true fact is that people still use lousy passwords. A lot of people still use lousy passwords, and it's probably bad passwords or easy passwords are one of the most utilized methods for people getting their email accounts and their other accounts hacked, for example, because they use lousy passwords. But in the case of an application, of a web application, there's probably 1 in maybe 50 chances of you encountering a scenario where you'd have a administration panel with admin. okay, maybe if you find some web application that runs by default. So here's our script finishing in about 10 minutes. So it took a while to check 300. It took about 10 minutes to check like 300 URLs, but it got it done. So anyway, let me just finish answering this question and then we'll look into it. So, as I was saying, in real life, chances are that you will encounter such scenarios pretty rarely. And like for example, on Hack the Box and on Vulnhub, there have been many, but way too many machines that would run some sort of a configuration like that, or you would have to kind of guess some sort of a password somewhere, or you have something like really unrealistic, and I did not like that at all. And in the penetration testing testing assessments that I've done for companies so far, I've never actually gotten into that type of scenario. So that's why I kind of stay away. Maybe I'll discover something interesting in those platforms in the future, but for now, I'm not actually using any of them. Except so one of the platforms that I've been telling you guys about is Attack Defense Labs. And I've been doing Attack Defense Lab challenges in previous live streams, and you've seen how I do this live. And why I like this is because they don't have like freaking CTF-ish scenarios. Most of these are like web apps, misconfigured web apps vulnerable to certain CVEs. Like for example, you have Metasploit, you have Offensive Python, and each of these categories have like subcategories. For privilege escalation, you have interesting stuff in here. We have exploit research, malware analysis, all the goodies in here. You do have capture the flags, but I never actually looked into that, to your surprise probably. So they currently have 1,500 challenges, so there's practically unlimited resources for you to practice on what I consider, so it is my biased subjective opinion, real life scenarios. And we're actually going to do some more of these in the future. The subscription for Attack Defense Labs is around $35 to $40 a month, and I consider is really worth it. It's more expensive than other platforms, but in my perspective, I think it's well worth it. Also because you have access to Pentester Academy courses, which are and they also have challenges, real life challenges and scenarios for those courses in here. And they have like on Pentester Academy, they have like maybe 20 to 30 courses at this time. Some of them might be outdated, some of them are more like dated, like up to date. And you can do the courses in the meantime, and you can also practice on Attack Defense Lab. So okay, I've kind of diverged quite a bit in here. Hopefully that answers your question. So practice real scenarios on Attack Defense Labs, or look on Hack the Box, Vulnhub, Try Hack Me for the scenarios that might be more sort of geared towards real life. That's my opinion, and I kind of stay away from CTFs. Alright, we'll be looking... well, Dan, I'm a bit late. Can you sum quickly what it's all about? Well, you can actually catch the stream after it finishes. In short, I've been showing you guys how to... I've been showing you one of the tools that I've developed with inspiration from other amazing programmers to actually help me in bug bounties. In this case, I give it a list of subdomains which I don't know which one is up and which one is not. And it actually, this tool actually tells me, gives me the subdomain and the status code, the HTTP status code for that subdomain. And that tool is called upcheck. And this upcheck is just a couple of lines of code, and it's available on my GitHub, which is, I think I've put it on GitHub. So let's see. Let's see. Should be, let's check repositories. Should be in here, I guess. Upcheck. Yeah, so you have it on my GitHub. If we're here on GitHub, why not just give me a follow in here? Okay, so yeah, that's what we did in a nutshell so far. So in this case, we can see the output. And here, as I've told you, it catches the SSL exception, and in this case, if we visit this page, it's gonna probably ask us to confirm some sort of a security exception and visit this website in HTTP or something like that. I have to keep working on the tool to refine it, but it's functional, and I've kind of delayed improving it because it does its job. We have like 404s, API login, we have 200s, so as you can see, we also have 500s. I mean here, let's actually look into this one. And it doesn't seem to be a 500. I mean, it went into a redirect, right? So if we do paste and go, it actually does a redirect. It's interesting. Let's look for another 500. As you can see, it's anti-spam. These anti-spams actually lead into redirects. But we also have like 403, like this one here. (403). We have 200s, of course. It is 200, or is a redirect. But anyways, 502. So what I usually do, I have to tell you guys that I usually dump this and I further process it. So this is not this is not the final thing. This actually is processed further and refined until I get a very, very clean list of targets that I actually want to go look into manually and also do some sort of automation or automated testing to each of them. Okay, so let's see how many minutes are we in. We are 53 minutes in. Alright, so I'm gonna actually try to answer some of your questions here, and then I'm probably gonna call it a night. And yeah, I guess this is the last live stream of 2019. I don't find CTFs realistic. Of course, I don't find them realistic either. What else? What other questions do you guys have? Let me go through what's going on with this. Let me go through them. So we've answered this one from Keep Smiling. How many hours, days should I spend on a target? Charizard. Lead Charizard. Well, it depends. It depends on the scope. It depends on how large the program is. I, for example, have been spending like days, let's say 4 to 5 days, doing recon only on specific targets that are very, very big, have a lot of subdomains, have a very large scope, and I moved on not indefinitely from them or away from them, but I just put them on pause because I actually got bored of doing the same testing on the same target, finding the same things. So I just move on, and then at some other point, if I find it interesting and if I find it challenging, I get back and keep on testing from where I left. And I also, since my methodology is constantly updated, I'm actually applying new methods on old targets, so on old programs, which is why I have to specify that it is really important to actually write everything down. So I have large documents for or large reports or documentation for everything that I do, and that's actually super important because if I'm doing bounties on a target now and I want to get back to that same target like 2 weeks from now, I don't want to repeat the same thing, or I do want to repeat the same thing because targets are dynamic, but I want to make sure I don't get into the same mistakes. So like visiting my older documentation for that specific target kind of gives me a good insight into what to look for, what to look into, and what not to spend time on. Okay, so it depends. Some smaller targets, to get back to your question, some smaller targets I just spend like, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours and then move on. So I'm keep on recycling targets as I get excited or get bored by them. HackerOne versus Buckroad for beginners. Whatever you want. I mean, I could not actually, I didn't spend too much time on both of them to actually have a very subjective opinion. Both of them are good. You can also find targets yourself using Google Dorks. So there are way too many companies that have not private but public bug bounty programs that are not on either HackerOne or Bug Bounty or other large websites that host bug bounties. You would just find them through Google Dorks. What Google Dorks? Well, Google it yourself. It's all on Google or on DuckDuck.go. Okay, what else is here? Tell me something about host vulnerability. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you're saying. Suggest me a word list for directory brute forcing. Well, there are a lot of word lists out there available, but as far as I know from other guys and what I've learned myself, is that a lot of bounty hunters and pen testers develop their own word lists. So this is a lot brought up in Hamsex's live streams. Uh, I mean, find a word list, find a good word list out there. There are like a lot of them. You just have to exercise your web searching skills and then develop it yourself. Like improve it, add to it, remove stuff from it. Uh, I also have my own word lists, so yeah. Steady guy, no hacking practice really realistic. There isn't anything close to reality. You prepare yourself if the best, then go and try. Well, what else can get more realistic than a bug bounty? That's like, you don't even have to call it realistic, but because that's like, it's not even a scenario, it's the real thing. So you can always, so the best thing about today is, fellas, you have the you have like hundreds, if not thousands, of bounty programs that you can practice on real life. And if you find something, you can get rewards, you can get money for that, on top of the fact that you're learning a lot. So that's one of the reasons I do not spend time on platforms such as the ones mentioned before, except the time that I spend on attack defense labs to kind of get some sort of variability from the bounties that I do, and also to kind of show you guys some sort of real life scenarios that could happen. Other than that, most of the time I spend in penetration testing is on bug bounties because it's productive time. Spending time on other platforms which have boxes that you have to root, you could learn a lot. But other than that, I find it more gratifying when I'm doing the real stuff, not like scenarios. Okay, what do you think about pro labs from Hack the Box like Rasta Labs and Offshore? I don't know, many people say a lot of good things about them. I haven't looked into them, Adrian. But I know that quite a few people say a lot of good things about those labs. Okay. What else? HSTS vulnerability. What do you mean, Mayank? Okay, website hacking, missing HSTS. Header vulnerability. What do you mean, dude? Bug bounty is the real thing. That's right, steady guy. Mohammed, I wouldn't even call them scenarios. It's the real thing, as a steady guy said. Alright, so I guess these are all your questions, guys. If you still have questions, just shoot them in the next 2 or 3 minutes. Otherwise, I'm gonna call it a night here. And I really hope that that you've learned something and that I've kind of like inspired you to get into bug bounties. In the meantime, I should probably say that good night, Adrian. Happy New Year to you too. Amir, is Web Application Hacker Handbook still relevant? Well, I'm still currently reading it. I do think it's relevant, but for a lot of people that aren't motivated, I would say that it might not be as easy to get through it because it could get quite boring. So I think I'm in chapter 10 right now, like 300 something pages in, and the book is like 800 pages. I do still think it's really relevant, but you could get demotivated as you are getting through it. There's another book which is still really good. It's not as in detail as the Real World Hackers Web Application Hackers Handbook, but there's the book by Jaworski. So let's go to our good old Duck here. So Real World Bug Bounty Hunting, I guess. Bug Hunting. Jaworski. This one. So I think this is a really solid one by Peter Jaworski. So I think Peter is right now at Shopify. And this one is 2019 Real World Bug Hunting. It's a really good book. So I've gone through this one. As you can see, there are a lot of bugs, including server-side request forgery, that are covered pretty well. Also, by Jaworski is you have the Hacker One-on-One or something. Let's see. He's got another book. Jaworski. Where is Jaworski's other book? That's interesting. Because I think this is the second book by Jaworski. What was it? This one. Web Hacking One-on-One. Yeah, so this one. This is actually 2015 or 2016, I guess. And I believe 2018, last update. And I believe that the bug hunting, real world bug hunting, is maybe a continuation or an update of this book. I cannot say for sure because I do have this one, but I haven't looked into it. So 3 of the books are this one, the 2 by Jaworski, by Peter Jaworski, and the Web Application Hacker's Handbook, which are your allies. Of course, in the meantime, you would be developing your own methodology, and what else? You would also be testing, you would also be doing bug bounties. Steady guy, do I know you as well? Okay, fellas, my stream. What's up with the quality here? Should be better now. Okay, so if you are still here, 13 of you, 12 of you, I just want to say that I wish for you guys to. Hello, Eddie. I wish for you guys to actually understand and take action in 2020, because this, to actually become a master or an expert or a person that's very skilled in something, you have to put in the hours. You have to really struggle. I mean, I'm like 5 or 6 months in. I've done a bunch of bug bounties and I haven't even scored something that would actually pay. I did find bugs, but I didn't get any pay so far, but I'm still super motivated, and I really hope, and I'm gonna do my best, not that I just hope, I'm gonna do my best that in 2020 I find as many, or I don't know, maybe at least a couple of them that actually pay, because that would give me validation for what I do. And in the meantime, even if I don't do that, I know that I'm actually gonna learn a lot about how stuff works on the web, which is really important because I do have satisfaction. Even if I don't have monetary satisfaction from that at this point, I do have a huge satisfaction of doing bug bounties, of contributing to companies' security on the internet and online. And that satisfaction is probably what actually pushes me forward. And that's a type of satisfaction that I wouldn't actually get from practicing on platforms, on doing less impactful, less reality impactful stuff, if you know what I mean. So that's what I wish for you. I wish for you guys in 2020 to actually put in the hours, do real world stuff, and learn Python, of course. You can actually get my Python for penetration testers I think it's in the description of this video. But anyways, it's gonna help you. Python and Bash is gonna help you. I've seen how it helps me, and I'm quite confident that you don't need Python or Bash to be a penetration tester or bug bounty hunter. But if you know Python and Bash, you are much better than someone who doesn't. You've got loads more opportunities open